Hello and welcome to Deccan Dialogues. This episode brings to you a conversation between two experts on the status of sports in India. We have with us Mohan Guruswamy and Papa Rao. Mohan Guruswamy is a thinker and commentator on various issues. Papa Rao, a retired bureaucrat, has been a sports administrator and is now a filmmaker. What is the state of sports administration in the country? How is political stranglehold killing sports in the country? What kind of reforms are necessary in sports administration, be it fair elections in sports bodies, guidelines and regulations on ethics, or an appropriate mechanism to resolve disputes? Over to Mohan Guruswamy and Papa Rao.
Papa Rao, you gave up a career in the IAS to become a sports administrator, a full-time sports administrator. I remember in the early 2000s. Do you think that move was a good one in hindsight? Because have people like you been able to make a difference to the quality of sports, to the quality of sports administration in India, and to the present situation in India? Could it have been better?
Well, I gave up IAS for a couple of things. One of them being sports reforms, and the other being filmmaking, and the third being Telangana. So, in that order or the whichever way. But sports reforms, I was thinking for a long time. And because I was a sports administrator very early in 1980s, mid 80s and 90s, later on, but I was always connected with the sports. Yes, reforms were needed, and we took a call during the Commonwealth Games at the height of corruption and the bad news on sports, and made an impact 4 or 5 years. And you can see that at that time when we took up that clean sports call, I mean, most Indian federations were headed by politicians. Today, there are not many, so we are not claiming a full any victory or anything, but there is a sense of need for reforms has come into general awareness, even judiciary. But unfortunately, the current political party doesn't think. Whereas we could achieve some amount of success during UPA. And the success was in the sense that all the Congress politicians withdrew on the advice of Rahul Gandhi. I met Rahul Gandhi 2-3 times. He has pulled out all the Congress leaders. But today I regret a bit, the RSS and BJP is taking over the institutions. So, and they are not giving any scope for reforms, and today any reform is happening, it is judicial activism. 1 or 2 judicial activists like Rahul Mehra in Delhi and few people all over India, but courts are taking very active role, and we are waiting for a political opportunity to push through the reforms, in my opinion, after this government.
You see, even the judiciary, you saw in the cricket board, the Lodha commission was appointed, Supreme Court gave directions, they took over the board, management of the board, and what has happened after that? We only got rid of Dalmia, but the same Amit Shah's son, who probably never held a bat together, or is not able to string 2 sentences together, is now the BCCI secretary, representing Indian cricket abroad, and BCCI is the richest sports body in the country, if not the world. And look at the others in the BCCI. They're all RSS, BJP people, with otherwise no sports interests.
No, you see, if you look at the pre-Lodha committee report, cricket itself, no cricketer would even become a chairman of a state level cricket committee, let alone BCCI. Today Ganguly is not there, but Roger Binney is there. at least, of course, I agree with you that Mr. Shah has nothing to do with sports. Of course, they've come through the back door. Now, at least there is a level at which politicians are not so aggressively in the cricket board. At least they want some cricket face. And apart from that, you see now that you will see in Hyderabad Cricket Association there is Azharuddin, in Karnataka it is Brijesh Patel, in elsewhere there is the cricketers are taking over. Now they got the confidence. You see, when before we started 2010, I went to any cricketer, only, I mean, very few sportsmen were even step forward. So today, even football, you see, yesterday, okay, Baichung Bhutia lost, but the one who won is also an Indian goalkeeper.
True,
so,
but you know,
Kalyan.
But supported by a party.
You see, but at least
a party which overtly canvassed.
Yeah, you see, today BJP is there, so they are putting, if they, my point is that it is a long way to go for reforms.
So even if you got rid of the parties, look at, you mentioned Azharuddin, the Hyderabad Association. What a mess it is.
Yeah, you see.
His opponents are all cricketers.
Yeah.
Hyderabad at one time was the Ranji Trophy champion. Hyderabad was always number 1 or 2 in the south in cricket. Used to have test matches here, regular. We don't have anything now.
I agree. It's not that.
And they're looting the association, openly being looted. Everybody, some of the guys I know, who were running around bicycles. They're all driving around big cars now. So, and it's common talk, it's bazaar talk. And before Azharuddin, there was Shivlal Yadav.
Yeah.
Not that he, covered himself with great credit.
Yeah.
But it's something wrong with the system, not sportsmen.
I'll come to the point. There's something basically wrong with the system. There are no institutions to govern. You see, for instance, for Indian polity to govern, there's a constitution, there's a state assembly, there is a judiciary, there is a 5-year election properly conducted by election commission. So now biggest problem with the sports is, it is driven from top to bottom. Somebody started International Olympic Committee, some Frenchman, let's say, to hold Olympics. Coubertin. Now they started an Indian Olympic Association, like that 100 Olympic Association. Indian Olympic Association is started their organizations, and this is all is common society registration or a trust or a company. Now let me come. There is no way how this election is held, like an Indian general election is held. There is no dispute mechanism, like if the political parties come to do with the judiciary, and there is no legislative mechanism. So as a result, Indian sports are completely unlearned to themselves. So even if the sportsmen come into being, unless we lay a foundation to this, so in fact, I'll come to straight to the point. Our ultimate objective is to lay a foundation, which 3 areas of institution development. Number 1, there should be an election commission to host the elections of all sports federations. There should be a ethics commission to look after all this betting, or all the criminality in sports, all the background, anything unethical about sport. And then there should be a dispute mechanism. Today, these 3 things are not there. Today, there will be thousands of cases, and more than half of the national federations are stuck in various courts, High Court, Supreme Court, District Court. So during UPA government, as a part of our movement, we kind of pressed the UPA government to get a sports legislation. And government of that day, Manmohan Singh government, appointed a drafting committee headed by Justice Mudgal. I was a member of it, and we drafted a beautiful law. We set up election commission there. The law, if that would have passed, there should have been an election commission with somebody who held elections in India as a chairman, and there's an ethics commission. We were thinking of somebody like Prakash Padukone, and then some judicial members. I mean, ethical sportsmen would head that, and arbitration, sports arbitration commission headed by a retired Chief Justice of High Court, so that the only court will go. So if these kind of reforms do not come, whether we change the politicians to sports or sportsmen to something else, will not come. So it has to go hand in hand.
I noticed something very interesting. India has been doing well in wrestling. All the credit in wrestling must go to one Akhada in Delhi and one in Haryana.
Yes.
The 2 private institutions where local people give money and they're training wrestlers, and all these wrestlers from there go to the Indian team. Boxing is done in Manipur, which otherwise does not figure in our discourse.
Yes.
But Manipur, one state, wins more gold medals in athletics than the whole country together.
All sports.
All sports. Just not. And boxing, they dominate boxing.
Yeah.
Small state. So obviously there's some local influences, but you could have local encouragement of sports everywhere else, but it just doesn't seem to happen. Now even the previous gold medalist, that youngster from Chandigarh for shooting, his father was a rich man, he built himself a shooting gallery and he practiced by himself, no coach, nothing. And he won, the Olympic thrower who won, he joined the services. Chopra. The services made him a Subedar and he just kept practicing. So he won. Now this are all individual efforts and some local institutional efforts. But I find that, at one time, the football team, in 1956 Olympics,
Hyderabad.
The Indian team came fourth in the Olympics.
And they had 5 players from Hyderabad.
And 5 players from Hyderabad Police.
5, 6
Hyderabad Police was a nursery. The services was a nursery. Now, we used to win the hockey. And out of the 11 players, 9 would be services. But services are out of the game now. Services Sports Control Board takes no interest. The Indian Railways takes no interest. Even Indian Airlines used to have a champion hockey team. They are also not in it. Nobody's in it. Now, if the big institutions which have money, which can nurture sportsmen, which can give them jobs, some extent the banks have taken over for cricket and done a good job. Or most of the cricketers who play now played for the bank first.
No, I agree. What you made 2 points. One is that the way talent is there, there should be resources, like you said, Akadas, Manipur, etc. And the other is the institutions backing. I think railways and services are doing fairly good job. I'll explain later. But where the talent is there in India, the money is not put. That is where I worked in 1985 to. No, the special area game. The special area is the area where there is either a talent, traditionally, or by through a genetic makeup that sport can be, like in Alapi water sports, there is a tradition. So we went to northeast to get, because of the Mangaloids are good with all these contact sports, like boxing, wrestling, all in the lightweights. No, I was the first one to set up these boxing institutions in Mizoram and Manipur. And in fact, Mary Kom came from the center I established, where the boxing. So there are lots of boxing, as you said, it's growing in Manipur. And Akadas around Delhi are also has a tradition of doing. So these programs were there in Sports Authority. I am not saying after I left, but recent government has completely destroyed it. In fact, if you Google, there is a huge letter I wrote to current sports minister disagreeing with him and not doing anything about this. For 25-30 years it ran and it produced Olympians like Limbaram in archery, boxing, in a place like Andaman Nicobar for cycling and Alapi for water sports and various places. But this government, I don't know, somehow they are going in event management and they are not concentrating, as you said, in the areas which it need to. And saying apart from that, now today before coming here, I was looking at the union budget. Union budget has 3,000 crores roughly for this year, which is, you are an economist, 0.07%. It is not even 1% to chodo, 1/10 of the 1%. If you have a budget like that, and in fact, somebody like Orissa government, which spends 900 crores in the sports budget, that means they are at least 0.50 or something, or some 0.60% of the, at least 1% if you don't spend in India. It's such a huge country with 130 billion people. It's time we spend money. And as you said, but institutions like railways and services are actually a little hope last 30 years what they have done. But now we have to go much beyond that. If a country like us, now we have to go much beyond. There is only a talk about it. Now look at, no country in Europe spends less than 1% on their sports. I mean, if you have to get any medals in the country, And one good thing about current generation is that in the older generation, people didn't think that they will win at a world level. Today, the youngsters are confident. They are trying their best. So the state should spend more money, private sector should spend more money, but most important thing is the governance in sports federations has to improve. If they do not improve, how much, whatever money you put in, it will all be just a waste of money, and so we have to do simultaneously all these things.
One thing which is notable is that most of the medal winners, most of the champions in individual sports, most of the good players, in team sports, are turning out to be women. The women have been winning gold medals in athletics. You had Usha, then you had various people,
Shiny, Vandana Rao,
all these people winning medals.
And then Ashwini Nachappa.
And then Ashwini Nachappa, and then people like Saina Nehwal and Sindhu who've been winning in badminton. But even that badminton, now Hyderabad alone is the center of Indian badminton.
Yeah.
One man set up an institution and he's training people there, and they're producing champions.
Yes.
Why can't we have 6 institutions like that?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. You see, Hyderabad, the institution, Chandrababu Naidu gave land to Gopi. Gopi has brought private money and set it. And now Jwala is doing it. Now the competition is growing. Now, if we do this, every sport in, let's say, 10 other cities, the state governments giving land and private sector giving money, and a sportsman or a ex-sportsman starting an academy, it will boom. But it is not going in a...
why are the women doing better than the men? That's the question I keep asking.
Women are doing better, I think, because first of all, I would say all said and done, they are more disciplined than boys. That I have seen even in my experience with...
even in archery?
Even in archery.
Women have done better?
No, men also have done well. But one of the things is, that is one. And then, I think, why Indian women are doing, because now this generation is coming out.
Mm-hmm.
When after thousands of years you repressed, so that they will like to show. In fact, there will be more women power if we really unleash this than what you are seeing today. And if we spend more money on the women's sport and facilitate more facilities for women and concentrate on women's sport, even it will do much better. So I think it has to do with our little bit history of putting women behind our back and then not letting them go. But it's all the thousands of it, so they can show it in much better results. It has got I think they are a little more disciplined than boys. And in a critical age where you become an Olympic champion, those 20s and 30s, not going to the bars or not going, women are a little more disciplined on an average. I can't say that all men are bad, all women are good, but definitely.
You hear of astounding stories of, a hockey team in Jharkhand, in some village.
Oh yeah.
Where the girls have built themselves
stories. We built
football,
No, in fact, that is one of my programs in special area games, where Jharkhand, how the Jharkhand hockey came historically.
Yeah.
But that was the main sport. So there used to be in the villages, there is a chicken trophy, there is a goat trophy. That means chicken trophy means a small tournament, goat trophy means a big tournament. So we actually held chicken and goat trophies while I was in Sports Authority of India. I paid for chickens and goats and got the talent, and the first starter for hockey I put it up from Sports Authority in Ranchi. So this program, what you said, Akadas, etc., Government of India knows, and 30 years program they have discontinued, this government. And Kiran Rijiju, I thought is coming from Arunachal Pradesh, and I wrote a letter which is all over in Google. You just see that he, being a tribal, he destroyed this scheme. It's there all over the place. Now I don't know this government, their perspective on sports I don't understand, but they are into big event management. Anything to sport is the Prime Minister is there, big event management, but they really not doing much on the thing. I think another thing I'd like to say, that we must go in for Olympic Games in 2036, because 2032 is also given away to Australia. Now, if to go there, we must do all these things. Every state government and central government should get the budgets in next 10 years, not now, over a period of, if we are at 0.07% of union budget, every year you 10 decimals you increase, 10 years only you reach 1% of the union budget or the state budgets. Now, if you go that way, bring it our budgets to 1% and encourage private sectors to put in, encourage sports administrators to start private academies, and first bring that sports legislation to govern the sports, to have an election commission, to have an ethics commission, to have an arbitration commission, so that the elections are held, governance is improved, then we should bring the Olympics. Otherwise, we go to Olympics at this stage, we will be laughing stock worse than the Commonwealth Games, because everybody would like to eat a pie out of this big penny, big cake which is going to look like Olympics, and then we will be laughing stock in the.
Somehow, I'm not in agreement with you on staging the Olympic Games. I think you got to improve your performance in sports, capacity of sports, spread of sports, and then go for events which will give a further fillip to it. We saw what happened in Commonwealth Games. It became a loot.
No, that's what I'm saying. You see,
I know when Vidyacharana Shukla also wanted Olympics in India.
I think now India is prepared to host, because now Olympic event, like now we are not saying tomorrow. It is 2024, 2028, 2032. I am talking about 2036. After 4th Olympic Games, if you plan from now, then only you can really. So, in fact, today who is around 7-year-old, 4-year-old, we should train at Olympics at that. So, if we plan now, India is at a stage, we should think of it, but again there is a problem with this government, they would like to take it to Ahmedabad. We should have an independent commission, which city is good, and these days the Olympics can be held in multiple cities.
Absolutely.
So, we should have a fair system of not only getting Olympics, allocating within the Indian cities, and most important thing is improving the sports governance in federations and Olympic Association, Indian Olympic Association, and it's a kind of a united effort only can bring, otherwise then we will be another laughing stock at like Commonwealth Games.
Do you hold out much hope that there will be any improvement in the organization, in the system? I'll just give you a personal note. My daughter, as you know, is a Supreme Court senior advocate. She is fighting 4 cases for different sports associations.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, Indian Olympic and football and kabaddi, all these people. She says they will fight till the end. They don't want to compromise.
That's exactly what you're saying. You're coming to a point. There are hundreds of cases in high courts and Supreme Court and district court, thousands of cases. Now the disputes are not coming, its governance is at a standstill. Now what I am arguing is that you bring a sports legislation, establish one sports arbitration with benches in south, north, east, so the people these judges also don't know what the sports is, and this is only they go into the technical issues and issues are never solved. Once you go to the court next 4 years, so you have an arbitration, so the disputes are recognized. First of all, then you have an election commission, elections are held fairly. Then you have an ethics commission. It is a very well thought out legislation. Unfortunately, Rahul Gandhi pushed fast and Manmohan Singh took it to the cabinet, that legislation, and people like Sharad Pawar, Lallu Prasad, or Farooq Abdullah, they were all in the cabinet, they opposed because they were members that time. But today,
they had vested interest. They were all associations.
Interest. But why can't Modi take? He talks of governance. He talks of this thing, and then the legislation is languishing. Why can't we have a sports law? I mean, even a country like United States had once. In fact, United States also at one point had these mafia kind of sports administrators. They brought in a law, and then things have started falling to place.
You know, at one time, coming back to local, Hyderabad used to be a big sports center.
Yes.
Cricket, hockey, football. You see, everywhere there would be big teams going out from here. You know, there used to be football trophies like Durand Trophy, various Rovers Cup. All this Hyderabad teams would go. Hyderabad City Police, Hyderabad Police itself. and then you had hockey, Rangaswamy Cup, teams would go out from here, do well. Today you don't see any sports activity in our own state. Our own state seems to be languishing behind. Our own state government doesn't seem to be too interested in sports or promoting sports.
No, I had discussion with the CM. In fact, after this election, the first 10 years he wanted to spend money on irrigation, electricity, water, etc. And he discussed with me. I can tell you this. I am not defending the Telangana government. Today Telangana government also stands at very poor sports budget. So in the next, after election, I think there will be a lot more sports budget, and we have a very good plan. If ever India hosts for Olympic Games, Hyderabad will have a very good atmosphere with the ring road, and various lands, government lands, etc. At least in policy level, we thought and kept aside, and it can be a very good bidding state for it. But as I said, you have to do all these things. State budget have to go, governance has to improve. All we should bring the sportsmen, corporate world together and improve the governance, and then host the games, or go towards a sporting nation. Now, if you are going $5 trillion economy or a little closer to the superpower or whatever power we are, we should also take our sport and culture, all the institutions together. So we cannot leave behind.
So are you hopeful?
I am. I am an optimist. So let's see.
On these matters, I am a pessimist.
Okay.
Hello.
Thank you.
Thank you.